Hello, Sean here, Mountains Garage. I just got done cleaning up yesterday's blizzard. Got some snowbanks now. I'll put in the only piece of night footage I remember to take. I plowed once last night right after dark, pretty much in the height of the storm, because I didn't know how much we were actually going to get. They predicted up to about 2 feet of snow. And to be honest, the way the wind blew, I can't tell you how much we got. Some places it was over my waist. Other places it was bare. But the only way I could find, for instance, this snow pile last night is when it came in sight, because it was snowing sideways and you couldn't see very far. You could see about the end of the headlights. So I bounced back and forth, and as the storm got worse, I stayed in the house, which gave me more time to think and eventually order more parts. I think I got a plan for the rear suspension on the Dart, or at least I hope I do, because I ordered some stuff. And I was checking on my back order. I ordered a complete front disc brake conversion kit that comes with control arms and ball joints and everything, so that'll all be new. I have to check the steering over real well, but you know, I don't have any great hopes that it's going to handle like a Trans Am. If it handles as good as a shopping cart, I'll be happy. A little carryover from the last video where I had not solved my upper radiator hose dilemma. I did, and I had the parts sitting right next door on the Model A. I had already bought an 1 3/8 to 1.5 inch silicone elbow. That's an 1.5 inch silicone elbow. The connector piece was about 6 inches long. It had a stud on one side and a NPT port on the other. The only way to attack it is to pretty much, I was able to lay that other hose I made on top of it and just started cutting, hoping for the best, because these elbows are 20 bucks a piece and I need to get more for the Model A now. I need to lower the radiator of the Model A, so I was going to have to do some cutting anyway. And this came out really nice. I need to source more of these constant torque clamps. I had a 1 3/8 for that one. These are 1.5 inch here. I need one more 1.5 inch. And then 4 for the bottom hose, all 1.5 inch. So I believe the size I need is number 24, which is 1.5 inch. These clamps are smooth on the inside, so the worm slot doesn't eat into the hose. Kind of like an EFI hose clamp, only bigger. With an EFI fuel injection hose, you don't want to run a regular hose clamp because it'll eat into the rubber. I just don't like regular hose clamps on anything, to be honest with you. For that reason, because it bites into the hose. This you could remove years later and it's still smooth underneath. No damage. And once again, the little bead roller my brother built, I had to guess on the length. I had to save room for the clamp and have my bead up here. It all worked, I'm going to say, fantastic. So the next item I've decided to tackle, now that I'm pretty much done with the powertrain, the underhood, and the transmission, I'm going to tackle the rear suspension. If you remember when I brought it in from outside, had it sitting on the cement floor, it was listing to the driver's side over 1 inch. A little bit of research tells me, and I can tell by looking at these springs that they're almost new, that is a Mopar Superstock left side leaf spring, and the same story is true. It doesn't look as new, that rhymed, but it means rhyme, but that is also the right side Superstock spring, which has a bigger arch and extra leaves. The rear of the springs were never mounted correctly anyway. This was the 70s probably. They wanted it jacked up. It belongs almost in that upper hole, slightly rearward of that upper hole you see. So I see online there's brackets that bolt in here and help support that. I'm just going to make some when I move that up. I have 2x3 frame rails, a 4-link setup, plenty of 9-inch rear end housings. I could either Pro Street or completely put a tube chassis into this car, but what I'm afraid of is once I start cutting in this car, there's nothing left. I kind of want to keep it as stock as possible. I wished almost that I'd cut out the inner fenders in the front and ran, roll cage tubing to support the upper shock mounts and the upper control arm mount. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it as stock as possible. Why, I don't know, but I'm going to do the same thing in the rear. I'm going to remove the 8 3/4, and I have a 9-inch Ford out in the outside storage shed, the speed shop, that I believe is about a 1/2 inch narrower. I wish it was an inch narrower. I can't wait to measure it for real, but I know it is slightly narrower than this 8 3/4. It has a Detroit locker, 350 gear. It's a Curry housing and axles, drum brakes, parking brake cables, everything. So that is going to go under here, and I'm going to probably sell this 8 3/4 or maybe keep it for a street rod. This has a 391 Shore Grip, and I put a 1350 yoke on this. This has brand new Quick Performance axles, and it has drum brakes and park brake cables and whatnot. But if I'm going to go to the extent of making this somewhat fast, no offense to Mopar guys, but I'll take the 9-inch Ford only because I have more parts. If I break this 8 3/4, I don't have any other parts to fix it. Yeah, I could buy some, but I actually have shelves full of 9-inch Ford stuff. I have 5 carriers all set up with different ratios that I can swap between this and that, and technically the Copper Nova. They all take the same rear, and most everything I'm going to build is going to have a 9-inch Ford in it. So. And I almost forgot, the Poor Model A also has a 9-inch Ford. So the plan for the rear suspension is to go over all the welds on the Lee Spring relocation kit that's already in place. They moved the springs inboard. I have found and purchased, it'll be here this week, another left side super stock spring, $133. That way the springs left and right will match. And I also bought, which I might regret, a Calvert type traction bar system. It's a copy. It looks pretty nice. It was substantially cheaper. I put Calverts on the Copper Nova, and they're okay. And we'll see. I guess we'll do a side-by-side comparison. So I was going to build my own, but for the money that this kit costs, $230, with all the rod ends, brackets, and everything, I don't believe I can even touch that in raw material. I toyed with the idea of converting the pinion snubber over to the 9-inch Ford. The only way I could do that is the 9-inch Ford has a bolt-in pinion, so I'd have to come up with a sturdy bracket off that. And the floor in this car is, well, it's been, I guess I'll call it a reinforcement, but this does work. It does exactly what you want to do with a radial tire. It lifts the body. If you're watching Mopar, the old Mopars leave the starting line, they grow as they accelerate. So that's what you actually want to a point. But the Calverts, or that style traction bar, do a good job. So that is what we're going to get. I probably won't completely lose the charm of the jacked up rear end. However, I want to lower it enough, or at least more than it was. So I'm hoping the housing I'm going to dig out of the shed is narrow enough that I can tuck the tire in properly where it belongs. If this was mini tub, there'd be plenty of room in there, but I have enough room in the tub to move the tires in about 1 inch. So more on that later, but if I can lower the back down a little bit, it won't hurt my feelings any. I cannot wait to remove these subframe connectors. You would think where I just had the car on the ground, I would have thought to move the lift over, but I guess I'll have to do that next trip. But they will, end up supporting the Lee Spring mount area. I'm going to make them out of 1 and 5/8 roll cage tubing. I'm not sure how much reinforcement I'm going to do under the floor. My goal is only an 850 cage, but we'll see how that all works out. And I'm still dreaming of what pieces I have. I really don't want to buy anything to do the roll cage. I think I have enough junk laying around to fix it, and then I also need to update or replace the cage in the 72 Nova as well. I'm still not sure why I like this car, but I really do. It's got a face only a mother could love, but lately these dots have been popping up everywhere. People have been sending me pictures. There's one in Hot Rod Magazine this month. I think it's a 65, but still, this vintage dot. Don't tell me I'm going to have something popular. So to get geared up for subframe and roll cage fabrication, I decided yesterday and today to mount the milling attachment that came with the Logan lathe, the small lathe, and I built the Nova 5 or 6 years ago that I notched all the tubing on the Logan lathe. This thing works pretty good. You can angle it here. This goes up and down for different size tubing. And of course you can turn your tubing this way if it's already bent, so there's no angle you can't cut. And a long time ago, I bought a box of giant end mills. It's 1 5/8 tubing. I should have an 1 5/8 end mill, but all I have is 1 1/2. But it does a 95% job, and it's fast. This setup here, I just engage it and I give it a little spray every now and then, and it's probably 30 seconds tops. I just kind of eyeball when the tubing gets lined up with the center of the end mill. I'm ready to go over to the belt sander and touch it up. I end up with a nice cope like that, and then I decided to do a little practice welding. These little short pieces get hot in a hurry, but I was practicing both pulse and regular TIG welding. The pulse was taking a little getting used to, but I think I got it down. I'm not sure which one I like better. Just straight welding is actually faster. But again, I've gotten into practice mode, so this one I actually prepped everything and it went pretty well. What I like about welding roll cage tubing is it's so thick, you're not going to burn through, so you can, you don't want to hang out too much and overheat the weld, but it's a good place to practice TIG. Today I was practicing with the AHP because it has the pulse and I wanted to try it. Tomorrow, before I put all the pieces of tubing away, I'll do at least one with the Lincoln to get back in the groove with that. I still love the Lincoln. I've considered even getting the pulse board for this. We'll see. Time will tell. I posted it for sale, but it's an expensive welder, and you know how it is on Marketplace. People want to pay less. So I'd rather have it sit here than accept less than I'm willing to take. You know how that goes. One of the beauties of having a YouTube channel is I'm documenting my life, at least over the last 2 years so far. And in a case like this, I need to go back and watch my own video right around Halloween about the torque converter flush machine. I don't remember if I paid 100 or 150. But either way, inside it, in the boxes of junk, there was an air test plate to test a Ford AOD transmission. OTC, it's a flat plate you blow air through. I looked on eBay and they sell for $75 to $100. I stuck mine on there for $85, I believe, and forgot about it until it sold the other day. So take that off the purchase price. Plus I've cleaned 3 converters for other people so far. So this thing is a gem. I love it. So that's the plan on the Dart anyway for the next few weeks. I'll hopefully knock out the rear suspension and might as well start on the roll cage. When those 2 hurdles are passed, and then eventually the front end rebuild's not a big deal. And then pull it out, rebuild the engine, put it all back together. I have the Holley Terminator. I mean, there's no reason why that car couldn't run eventually. I'm probably going to stay on it and finish it. I don't know at what point I decided it needed to jump in line in front of all the other cool projects, but the moment I start getting stressed about it, I realize this is all fun. It'll all happen in due time. Whatever I'm passionate about at the moment, I guess, or have parts to work on it. Either way, everything is moving forward in my head. I got more projects I want to start. I mentioned I want to build a frame table. I want to build a chassis for the 47 Ford pickup I have. The 49 Chevy pickup is pretty much a bolt together. I just ordered some door lower patch panels. I have all the other sheet metal. The doors for that truck were lost when I got it. So, you know, these are the things that, despite how much stuff I got going on, these are the things I daydream about. More projects. So, hope you're having a great day. If you're anywhere in the Northeast, I hope you got dug out from the crazy winter storm. And I'll catch you in a couple days.